Is it bad to say I like The Phantom Menace? Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, written and directed by George Lucas. Long-time fans of me and long-time subscribers, and those of you following me on Twitter will know that I will be reviewing all 7 theatrically released Star Wars movies this December for the upcoming Rogue One, and starting with the one everybody hates, the start of the prequels, The Phantom Menace. Now, it's no secret that every reviewer ever has reviewed The Phantom Menace at this point. Everybody universally agrees that it sucks in comparison to the originals and The Force Awakens. However, there are still fans of the prequels out there, and they've had to endure major Star Wars fans just hating on them, calling them pieces of shit, and just calling the people who like the prequels wrong. But if you... And I know you all expect me to review The Phantom Menace the same. You expect me to say it like this:
Star Wars The Phantom Menace was the most disappointing thing since my son.
Well, if you were expecting me to just rant about this film, guys, I'm sorry. You're gonna be disappointed, because I'm gonna say something that nobody's ever said before. I actually like the prequels. I know, just calm down, guys. I am aware that The Phantom Menace is far from a perfect film, but I do believe that there is a lot to love here. In fact, I think there is very controversially more to love than there is to hate. For example, I know the opening crawl of the film may seem like this film's going to be a snooze fest when it tells you the film's going to open with negotiations and tax disputes, but the opening action scene on the Trade Federation ship, I think is a hell of a lot of fun and pretty awesome, and Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, played brilliantly by Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor, are really intriguing and awesome characters, and the action you can't deny, and the fight choreography is the one thing the prequels actually did better than the originals. The fight choreography was fast, epic, and stylized, and we actually get to see Jedi in their prime. That's something we never got to see in the originals, and the fact that Darth Sidious was the one manipulating the Trade Federation to invade Naboo, and he's the puppet master behind all this, is a nice nod to the Emperor in the originals, and it makes us really gripped and intrigued. Oh, the Emperor is behind all this. What's he planning? What's the big picture? And when people say The Phantom Menace is boring, it literally opens with an invasion, and how is that not cool? And of course, they then run into the franchise's most hated and despised character, Jar Jar Binks. Now, I'm gonna make one thing clear. I don't hate Jar Jar Binks, please don't hurt me. Now, he is far from Star Wars' greatest character, and he really doesn't have much purpose in the film other than to provide comic relief, but at least he's a sympathetic character from being banished from the Gungan city just because he was clumsy, and he does actually lead the Gungans to victory in the Battle of Naboo at the end. So come on, guys, he's not that bad. And I'm sorry, guys, but I freaking love the scene where they swim down to the Gungan city. It's visually beautiful, and John Williams' score in that scene is truly phenomenal. And I even like the submarine scene and seeing the underwater creatures of Naboo. That's brilliant world building. Naboo is a beautiful, lush world that at the time of the originals was impossible to create. However, I will say that the film does really overly rely on CGI because boy, does it look dated now. It was groundbreaking at the time, but now you can really tell. However, there are some great practical effects in this film, more attempts at practical effects here than they are in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, but this probably has the weakest CGI of the prequels, and George Lucas did get obsessed with technology at the time, and when the Jedi do arrive at Feed Palace and rescue the Queen and take her back to Coruscant. One nitpick I have with this film is that the battle droids don't provide any tension whatsoever because the Jedi just cut them in half. That's cool at first, but seeing them just cut down these droids with ease gets boring after a while, and that's the thing the prequels do step down from the originals. The lack of tension and danger our characters can face, and I don't mind the acting in this film for the most part. I think Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor particularly give great performances, but Keira Knightley as the Queen of Naboo's decoy, she's really flat like a robot. So she's been told her life's in danger and she just talks like this. But I love the moment when they escape the blockade, when R2 actually fixes the ship. It's a great introduction to him, and which shows how special he will become in the originals. And after all that fun first act on Naboo, we then get to Tatooine, where now this is where the film starts to drag a bit for me. I mean, they spend just a little too much time on Tatooine, George. You really could have trimmed this part down and picked up the pace again, get the story going. But I will give it this. This is, of course, where we meet Anakin Skywalker, played by Jake Lloyd. I know everybody just hates on Jake Lloyd, and the prequels just ruined his life. But I think you guys need to leave him alone. Seriously, he's not that bad. I mean, he did the best with the script he was given. Is it worth saying how bad a kid was in a movie for the rest of your lives? We should just move on from that now. But I do like Anakin's family dynamic here. We feel so sorry for how he's a slave owned by Wasso against his will, and he has a brilliant, legitimately heartfelt relationship with his mother, which is a great aspect about this film that really gets overlooked. Anakin and his mother Shmi share genuine mother and son chemistry, and they will stick by each other no matter what, which makes what happens in episode 2, spoiler alert for my next review, all the more powerful. And even his relationship with Padme here feels very sweet and natural. Say what you will about where the romance went in episode 2, but here it's not that bad. And you also find out that Anakin built C-3PO, which fans were pissed off by, but I don't mind. It's a nice nod to the originals, and we get introduced to, of course, the midichlorians. People got pissed off that the Force is now just some particles when it's supposed to be a spiritual thing, but does it really make any difference whether the Force is particles or spiritual? It's still awesome, right? And it still helps our characters throughout this series achieve great things. And since Anakin doesn't have a father but only a mother, and the midichlorians impregnated Smee, how they did that, I think I know why, but that's for a future video. Now, the pod race, of course, is the most famous Tatooine scene in this movie, and one of the most famous scenes in the movie in general. I don't care what everybody else thinks, I fucking love this scene. This scene is classic Star Wars at its best. It's so much fun, visually stunning, and exhilarating, and the sound design is outstanding. And when Anakin has won the race, so they finally got parts to repair the ship, and of course the prequel's most popular character, Darth Maul, shows up and gets in a brief duel with Qui-Gon. It's brief, but it's an awesome duel, and now they know the Sith have returned. And my only nitpick with Obi-Wan in this film, as great as he is, he really doesn't do a lot in the Tatooine part. He just spends all his time on the ship, and that's it. It would have been interesting if Obi-Wan really spent more time with Anakin in this film. But once they arrive on Coruscant, the arrival on Coruscant is wonderful. I love the design of the planet. We finally get to see the Republic and where the Jedi train. And we get introduced to, of course, Palpatine, who is now a senator hoping to win the election to become Chancellor, to put his plan for the Sith to rule the galaxy into action. However, the scenes after this are the most boring part of the movie for me. They're just talking about politics and tax disputes and treaties. Oh, this is boring as fuck, George Lucas. Where's the cool sci-fi action that we got in the movie early on? Come on, George, what kid or adult is going to want to sit through this? Well, I do find the aspect of Palpatine manipulating the Queen to just sign the treaty and accept Federation control very interesting. You can pretty much skip that part of the film and just get to Qui-Gon bringing Anakin before the Jedi Council, who we, of course, are led by Yoda and Mace Windu. And the Jedi in this film, they're completely wasted. They do, at least in episode 2 and 3, they did something. Here, they do nothing, but just sit around and expect everybody else to solve their problems. They're supposed to be the guardians of peace and justice, and they come off as dicks when they say, we're not going to train this kid, he's way too old. He's only 9. I mean, Luke was trained and he was like 20 when Yoda trained him, so why can't Anakin be the same? And of course, Yoda's line, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. And that's very true, actually, and throughout the course of the prequels, that becomes very apparent. And Qui-Gon, I find interesting, is the only one that believes in Anakin, whereas everyone else does not believe him, and turns out by the end of the series, Qui-Gon was absolutely right. When they finally get back to Naboo for the final battle and epic finale of the movie, it of course turns out that Padme, the handmaiden, was the real queen, and she was using a decoy to hide her identity. I'm like, did we really need that? Couldn't Padme have just been the queen, so it's less confusing? And they get the Gungans on their side, to which the Gungans finally agree to help the people of Naboo, and we get 4 things going on at once. It's truly an epic finale to the movie that completely makes up for the parts where it drags. Many people complain there's too much going on in this finale, but I understand, but I really don't see why. I mean, we needed that, otherwise the film would have been too slow. And the Gungan battle led by Jar Jar was awesome. That's Jar Jar actually helping and contributing, although it is CGI heavy. And Anakin destroying the Trade Federation ship was awesome, showing what he could do, showing his talents instead of just telling us. People have overlooked that. And the part where Padme captures the Viceroy, it's a triumphant moment. However, I do think the Trade Federation guys are terrible villains. I mean, their animatronics are pretty good. But just their voices, their Chinese accents, I found very offensive. However, the best part of the climax by far is the Darth Maul lightsaber fight. That duel is how you do a perfect lightsaber fight. It's one of my favourite in the series. I am not kidding. John Williams' score is fucking phenomenal, and Darth Maul truly shows why he is a badass. He can kick 2 Jedi's asses, and he's only a Sith apprentice, and Qui-Gon sadly gets killed, and Obi-Wan unleashes his anger and just cuts Darth Maul in half. Yeah, they killed off Darth Maul a bit too early, but hey-ho, at least he got to say one line of dialogue. And when Qui-Gon dies, it's such a tragic moment because we spent the entire movie getting to know him, and he is the only one who believed in Anakin. Now it's up to Obi-Wan to fulfill his master's promise, and Yoda very abruptly agrees to let Obi-Wan train Anakin, even though he what made him change his mind so quickly, never explained. And then we get Qui-Gon's funeral, and everything's happy, everything's fine, and that was The Phantom Menace. So honestly, I like it. This film does not deserve the hate it gets. I mean, it has awesome action, awesome visuals, some awesome characters, especially John Williams' score. Yeah, it has its flaws, and it's easily, in my opinion, the weakest of all 7 Star Wars movies. But but I stand by what I say. I like it.
I give The Phantom Menace 3.5 stars out of 5.
Well, I love you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and stay tuned for my Attack of the Clones review coming soon. And what do you think of Phantom Menace? Please comment and let me know. If you like this video, and subscribe. Be sure on Twitter and on Google+, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys.